Well, hello! Today we're working on a Four Sisters quilt. This cute little quilt pattern can be quilted in a variety of ways. We'll explore different approaches for quilting the sashing and corner sets as well as the blocks. Pam Clark shows us how to do easy swag borders and some freehand ideas. And we'll see how you can build your own design library. So stay tuned. Linda's Longarm Quilting is aired free to you by Gamble Quilting Systems Vision 2. Innovation taken to the next level. My stitch, my vision, my Gamble. We're going to look at this Four Sisters quilt pattern and talk about building a design library. But right now, Pam Clark is showing us how to do easy swag borders, and she'll be sharing some freehand ideas with us. Welcome back, Pam. We're so happy to have you here today.
Oh, Linda, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You know, I am excited to see your new techniques, but I bet the viewers would like to know just a little bit about you. How long have you been quilting on a Longarm machine?
I have been Longarm quilting for 17 years.
That is a long time for a Longarm quilter.
Yeah.
That's like the dark ages.
Yeah, really.
You must have done a lot of quilts.
Close to 7,000.
7,000?
Yes. I know it.
That is a lot of quilts. Oh, that's unbelievable. So you have been able to develop some techniques, I'm sure, that not only make your work fast, but you must be creating some really beautiful designs as well. So I can't wait for you to show us some of these things on the borders.
All right, and I'm going to show you a simple swag border. And this border is really can be done by any, like a confident beginner. All right, so let's say somebody that's had their machine for 6 months.
Okay.
All right, and they're ready to try something just a little bit different. All right, and all you have to do is break down the lines. And I found that when I first started, it was so hard. I could never find a pre-cut stencil that was going to fit. Or I would try to do my panographs, and they wouldn't fit. Or I was fussing all the time. Well, this is a business for me, and I'm in it for making, you know, I was trying to support my family, or trying to help support my family.
And doing all those quilts.
And doing all those quilts. But the reason why I could get all those quilts done is because I came up with this technique with using these lines. And this technique is called Designs with Lines. And what it is, it's a stencil system that has just reference lines. And what that's going to do, it's going to space it out for you. And then all you have to do is do a couple simple shapes. Like the swag border, all it is a clamshell. And maybe a tall, like a feather, or like a little plume or something.
Okay, so like a half circle, clamshell.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you do a clamshell, all you have to remember with the clamshell, it's like 1 high and twice as wide.
Okay.
So when you're using your long arm and you're pulling it towards you, you really want to eye it to the fullest part, and then you're going to come back down.
So kind of break it down a little bit.
Exactly. And what you
Okay.
want to do is you just want to break the spacing down so it's going to be even. Now, I use a product called a pounce pad, and what this is it's got chalk in it.
Okay.
And you really want to take it, and you're going to use a stencil. Well, this is the stencil that I use. And you also have to remember that each border has its own spacing.
Yes,
all right?
yes.
You know, you wouldn't want to use really tiny, skinny little spacing. You might want to use a little bit wider. It really depends on the design.
Size of the border, too.
Right.
Okay.
And you want to make sure it balances. Okay, balance is really important. And so what you do is you take the stencil, and on this stencil there's a smooth side and a rough side. I prefer to use the rough side up because when I use this pounce pad, it's going to pull the chalk out of the pad and it's not going to smear. So what you want to do, and I've already chalked this heavily enough so that you can see, so your viewers can see this, all right? But I'm going to show you on this white piece. And what you want to do is you're going to take the stencil and you're going to lay it down. Then this one, you're going to take this and I'm going to just lightly dust it across like this. Now when you do a swag border, the important thing with the swag border, you have to make a decision. Do you want the swag to be just even with the border and not in your corner? Or if you want it to go around the corner. If you want it to go around the corner, or even if you want it to come out, it has to be equal, the type that I'm going to show you. So it has to be evenly spaced, like 2, like this.
Oh, because you're going to use 2 for each swag.
Right,
I
because
see.
we want to take the clamshell all the way up.
Okay.
All right, so then in my border, oh no, actually I do like to chalk up the side just a little bit. I prefer not to stitch up the side of my quilt. I tend to sew a little bit different going up the quilt. I usually turn.
So sewing like this is different than sewing
Right,
across.
and so I always turn my quilts. Okay, so then for the corners, if you want to keep it so it's nice and even, you want to make sure that swag gets around, because I'm going to add like a little plume at the top up here. Well, when I first started doing this, I wouldn't put this stencil in here, and what happens then is that you get around the corner when I start stitching. I want it to come like this, and then my next one, I really want to come in and keep it spaced inside this, right
see,
there.
so that gives you guidelines.
Right.
So you can, I see.
So that's going to keep that spaced. And then the next one, I'm going to come up, and I want to take it to this line right there. And that's going to keep it even, so when I go to do this plume part here,
oh, goodness.
then it's going to come back down to there.
That's terrific.
So that keeps it even. And it's really going to show up if you're off just a little bit in that corner. So
But you don't really have to mark that like you did. This is actually,
No.
as you're sewing, what you're looking at.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I do not mark this on my quilts.
Okay.
No,
You've
because
got the chalk.
I've
That's all
got the
you need.
chalk. You might want to your first couple quilts on a practice. So that's how you're going to mark it. So let me show you how to stitch
Yeah, let's
it,
see
okay?
you sew this.
Yeah, it's really fun. I love machine quilting. I really do. It's really fun.
After 17 years, she's still
Oh, I
going
know
strong.
it. Oh. I know, it's scary, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to bring the thread up. Okay, and I kind of lock it with a back and forth stitch because, you know, 17 years ago, we didn't have all these fancy things on our machine. We didn't have a stitch regulator. So what I do is I just take it, and you can do your tacking back and forth however you want to bring your thread up. But I just actually rock it back and forth like so. I'm going to eye it there, come around.
Every two,
Oh,
you're doing
every
a
other
little
one,
half circle.
Right, and I want to try to get it so it's up to that part. Now I'm going to half one, I'm going to come around the corner, and I'm going to stop. Now, I can work from right to left, but as a, you know, a fairly new long arm quilter, it's going to be, you're going to stitch just a little bit different. So I really recommend that you actually take and you go back to the left side.
Okay. Yeah, I know your stitches look different
They
too.
really do. Then now I'm going to come around all the way. I just kind of eye the spacing to the top.
Almost like using a foot width maybe as your guide.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can do that. You can do just a double swag, and the one I'm doing is going to be a triple. Now, when I get to this part, this is where I'm going to, I want to keep it inside this square here like I did on that little white one.
Using
so,
that as your
yes,
guide.
and I don't want to come past it. I'm going to come around this way, and I stop.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to bring my threads up and get them out of the way. And I don't want a lot of buildup. I don't do a lot of overstitching in those, all right, because I'm going to start back on that one again when I turn the quilt. Okay, now I'm going to do the plume part. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do my plume like I did over on this side.
Okay.
Okay, and I want to try to get the one in the middle. So there's going to be 3 of them. And it's going to be one that's going to come here, one, then one in the middle.
Sort of a teardrop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Around.
And then around.
Okay, and I just kind of echo around that clamshell. Back through here.
Oh, that is so beautiful and so easy.
Very easy. And you know
Wow.
what? Really, it doesn't take a lot of practice. It's fun. You get like instant results. You do want to match your thread as close as possible when you first start doing this. I probably wouldn't use, you know, a real contrasting thread.
Until you're more confident.
Yeah, then you can do it.
And I can see that advanced students could do, you know, just more advanced techniques here. And
Right, and you know, Linda, I have 4 books on borders, sketchbooks that I've drawn up with probably
with just ideas.
just ideas on
Oh.
how to use lines.
And we should just use ideas like that.
Yeah.
We don't have to invent the wheel again.
No. Okay,
That's
now when I
great.
get to this next part, I get to this border or the corner, I'm going to come up to that line,
And then do your plume.
do my little plumes. And back down, like that. And you do want to make sure that you get this nice and even in here. All right, so what do you think of that?
I'm impressed.
Okay, so, and then if you look at my border over here, or actually if you can see it, because with the, right in here, I did like a loop. You could probably come back through here. Actually, I did like went to this line to that one, and then I did a loop, And a little.
Just to make it more fancy.
Yeah, just to fill in the
Yes.
spacing just a little bit more.
That is so cute.
Because maybe your first clamshell you got just a little bit large.
Yeah, and you know that any more quilting that you do detracts from the fact that it may not be perfect. And
exactly. Yes,
know.
the more you add to it. So, all right.
And you can do any size this way?
Any size. Yes, it's wonderful.
Well, those border designs are beautiful, Pam. What about sashing designs? Do you use the same techniques for those?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But sometimes, you know, if you really look at it, you can take the stencil and you could use it in your border. Let's say if you just had a plain block here, this stencil is going to work just fine. But like with this 9-patch border, it does line up, as you can see in here. And I'm not sure, let me see if the viewers can see this. So you can kind of see it's just offset a little tiny bit. And if I tried to do something that's going to be like a cross hatching or something, I don't think it's going to look as well.
Okay.
So what I have figured out though, by using my lines, I really started studying the piecing of the blocks because most of the quilts I get are traditional quilts.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
and so when
the
I get
piecework.
yes, so I really start. The first thing I look at is the piecing and what I can do to use that for my lines. And this one here has a really good example because it's a 9-patch, and you just have to make sure that it lines up fairly well.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. And so what you do with this one is you can take and you can do the same clamshell, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to this border, to this seam. And I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way up, not halfway up, like I showed you on this one. This one's going to go about 3/4 of the way up, so just a little bit past. And this
same
one,
half circle.
all the way, okay? And then a lot of times I can take this and work here.
Oh, just keep going
I go
from one to
around
the next.
The
Well,
quilt.
of course, the most continuous line is going to save you money and time.
Exactly. And see, this is how I get a lot of quilts done.
Yes.
Because I'm going to try to get from this point to that point with one stop. Okay, so then you will have to break your threads and come back. So when I'm going to come back here, now I'm going to come up to this part. And I want to take my clamshell to this one, or this arcing, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to take it to there.
I see.
And look
then
at
you
that
can just
border
keep going
design.
around that border the same
Right.
way. So,
See how much fun.
what
it's
a great
fast.
tip. What a great
Yes.
tip for that. That is super.
All right.
And you brought another quilt here. Let's look at this.
I did. This is done with my border stencils, that maybe the 2-inch one or the 1.5. It just depends on what size the border is. And so if you look at this, this is where the lines are going to be right in here. And I've washed this quilt. So you know that the chalk's going to come out. And I've never really had a problem with it.
Okay, so you can do them you just elongate them or make them whatever. And I love this one where you've done the design over the whole
Because
stripe.
a lot of times we have 2 borders.
Oh, yes,
okay,
2 or
and
3.
you think, oh my gosh, or 3. So I could actually take, if I wanted to, I could have probably even gone to a point up to here, worked up to this one, and back down.
And back down.
Right.
Oh my goodness. It's just using the thinking cap then
And
and,
that's-
having designs to help you. And
Yeah, it's
that's
exactly what it
terrific.
is.
Oh, thank you so much for showing us all of this.
you're
This is
welcome.
such a big help to the viewers. And you brought a couple of quilts. I'd sure like you to tell us about those.
All right, I did.
So-
This autumn kind of type of quilt up here, this is a row quilt from my quilt guild. So you start out, my border was the maple leaf one, and then what we did is we passed it around and nobody could see
Everybody
their border.
does a row, I see.
Right, a row. And so I decided, well, this would be a really fun way to showcase some of my quilting. And a lot of times, if you look, you can see that I've actually used the piecing to keep the stitching in there. And this is another quilt. This was going to be a raffle quilt. A friend of mine pieced this quilt, and then I did the 9-patch, and all of that is done using my basic, the crisscross, the corner stencil that I used, and then the 9-patch. And I used the piecing in the 9-patch to make that. So I actually could do as much work as I could get. I could probably get 3 rows of 9 patches and only have 1 stop.
Oh my goodness.
So it's all done.
You can kind of make a game out of that, can't
It
you?
is a game.
Yes, you play.
After 17 years, you know what? You have to have it fun.
And I think you're winning. So
I do. I
and thank
really
you
enjoy
again.
it. Thank you. Thanks for letting me be a guest on your show again.
You're welcome. I've been teaching more than 20 years, and I believe that my left-handed students have had to conform to the right-handed world when it comes to long-arm quilting. Stop! Not anymore. Now with the new Gamble Vision 2, left-handed quilters can easily customize the quilting machine to their own comfort and needs. My stitch, my vision, my Gamble.